I'm so glad you're here listening to the Sustain Your Passion podcast. I'm Genesis, your host and business development expert. If you're ready to make a bigger impact and income while helping others, then you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to help you sustain your passion. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Sustain Your Passion. Today I'm talking with Ashley Wilhite all about human design. So today we're going to talk about the human design types, and I am so excited to learn more. I feel like I know I'm a generator, know that means I need to respond to stuff, but honestly, that's where my knowledge stops. So I'm so excited to have an expert here to learn from and talk with and share with all of you. So Ashley, why don't you tell me a bit more about you, your business, and make sure that all of our listeners today will know how to find you.
Yeah, well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be sharing human design with you. My name is Ashley Wilhite. I am a certified human design coach, and I work with high achieving trailblazers, a lot of entrepreneurs who have really big dreams, and they want to make them happen in a way that feels easy and fun and without burning out. And the way that I help them do that is by aligning with their human design. So if you like our conversation today and you want to find me on Instagram, you can do that. I am Ashley Wilhite Coaching. I also have a Facebook group called the Human Design Headquarters that you can look for and jump in and join us there.
Perfect. Yeah, that is amazing. That without burning out piece is so important. Like in the intro on the podcast for this one, it's like, I want to help you reach your business goals and your biggest dreams, but in a sustainable way, because otherwise you're going to burn out. And what's the point in reaching those goals if you can't continue them for years to come? So talk to me more about how you got into human design.
This is so perfect because it's actually because I was completely burnt out.
Oh man.
So I have a master's degree in psychological counseling, and I worked as a therapist for a few years, and that's really what I wanted to do with my life. Like from the time I was about 18 years old, I was like, I want to be a therapist. I want to help people. And I want to have real, honest, vulnerable conversations. That's what I was all about. And once I got into the therapy world, I realized that it was emotionally exhausting, and I wasn't really trained to detach from the trauma that I was absorbing every single day. And so I burnt out pretty quickly. And that ended up leading me into the coaching world. And I started a coaching business. This was, again, before I found human design, and built up this coaching business online, doing all the email marketing and social media, and was pushing myself so hard that my body started shutting down. I started almost having panic attacks. My business was getting to the point where it was paying my bills, but it wasn't fun at all. I dreaded every single day. And so I eventually quit that business and took a break for a couple of years. And I was actually working in retail, and I was making about $13 an hour as an assistant manager. And I remember walking around that retail store being like, what am I doing with my life? I have a master's degree. I'm so much more qualified than this. What am I doing? And I don't remember what I posted on Instagram, but one of my friends sent me a DM, and she's like, are you a projector in human design? Because I feel like you are. And I was like, I have no idea what that means.
Right. Maybe.
Yeah. And she's like, go look it up online, Google it. You can find your chart. And so I did. And I was a projector. And I was like, tell me all about it. What does this mean? And so she gave me the brief summary of it. And from that moment on, I binged all the podcasts. I immediately ordered books. I started watching YouTube videos, and I fell in love with it because every piece of information that I learned about my human design chart felt so validating, and there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not doing it wrong. I'm not lazy. I'm not too much. It's just that I haven't been living in alignment with my design. I've been trying to be something that I'm not. And so human design became this really powerful tool for me to come back to myself, to start loving myself for who I am, to start really harnessing my gifts and my unique energy. And it completely changed everything for me. And so it was just a month after I discovered human design, I started offering readings to people because I was like, this is mind blowing. It's changing my life and I want to share it with people.
Mhm.
And eventually, like a year and a half later, I ended up starting my business. And now I do coaching and readings and group programs. And I actually have a certification program coming up for people who want to get certified in human design because I just believe in it that much.
Wow, that's amazing. That's super cool. So, a couple of things. Master's in counseling. Oh my gosh, that was like my goal as an undergrad. And then I looked at all of the hours it took to get licensed and was like, absolutely not.
Yes.
um, and so
It takes
I
so much.
seriously, and like I get it, right? We want to be helpers, but like that is
Yeah.
such an abusive model. Um,
Yeah.
and so personally, I went to a master's of education and worked in higher ed for a while, but similarly,
Mm,
like there is just this like really unfortunate reality that helping professions get taken advantage of. Like
yeah.
I've seen this in nursing, I've seen this in healthcare, I've seen this in education and nonprofits, which we also know are predominantly women run
Mhm.
organizations, which it's just like, oh, there's so much to unpack. But I'm so glad that you found your way into this new passion and so that you can be serving in like a way that is truly aligned and purposeful for you because yeah, like you said, like I'm guessing retail, you probably made everyone's day that you interacted with, but like were you serving in your highest capacity? Maybe
Yes,
not.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Totally get that. And so with human design, I'm gonna be real honest here. I know literally nothing. Other than like I did pretty much what you explained is like the first bit of when you came across it. Like I heard
Mhm.
people talking about it. I put in my birth date, my time, found out I'm a generator with like a 3-5, I think, and like a
Okay.
sacral something.
Uh-huh.
But that's all I know. And so what exactly like this is my ignorance talking, so I'm gonna own that like this is totally
Mhm.
I just don't know, not that it's not there, but I never looked for it. So what is the information about like where does this come from? How is there this knowledge base out there around how like the place and time that you were born translates to like who you are as a person?
Yeah. Yeah, this is such a good question. So, for those of you who don't know, human design is it's a system made up of four ancient sciences. So, it kind of blends together astrology, the Chinese I Ching, Kabbalah, and the chakra system. And there's lots of places on the internet where you can get your human design chart for free. My personal favorite right now is myhumandesign.com,
Mhm.
and you put in your birth information. So you need your birthday, your birth time, and your birth location. And you pull up your chart, and then we can read your chart and tell you all of these things about yourself. But when we see your chart, what we're looking at really is a map of the energy within your body and how it is designed to move. But most of us don't know that, right? We don't know this information. Our parents never taught it to us. And so we end up picking up on these clues, or we learn what to do, how to act to be successful and to survive in the world. And so we could like get a job that pays us really well but doesn't fuel our passions, and then we end up feeling burnt out. Or we recognize that in order for people to like us, we need to be people pleasers, right? We pick up these patterns and behaviors that aren't actually how we are designed to be. And so human design is the blueprint, it's the owner's manual of like, okay, this is how you're supposed to be operating, or like supposed to in quotes, but like how you're designed to be. And if you can learn that, if you can start understanding your chart, then it eliminates all of that resistance for you, and it makes your life feel so much easier and with more flow and more effortlessness. So that's like the basis of human design. But
Okay.
to go back to your question of like how did it come to be,
Yeah.
it was uh downloaded, meaning like this man named his name is Ra Urahu in the 1980s, so it's not very long ago. Well, I guess, oh my God, that's like 40 years ago
Oh my
now.
gosh.
But,
Yeah. Whoa.
you know, but it's a
Yes.
fairly new
Feels
system.
recent for sure.
Yeah. he had a download from what he calls the voice, where he combined astrology, the Chinese I Ching, Kabbalah, and the chakra system into this system called human design. And he said it took him 8 days for all of this information to come through. And if you've ever seen a human design chart, you know that it looks like gibberish almost. You're like, I don't know what I'm looking at here. Can someone explain this? So I personally find it fascinating that one man was able to like figure this out over 8 days and have it make so much sense. Like, I can't tell you, I've done hundreds and hundreds of readings at this point, and I've had one person tell me that their reading didn't resonate with them.
Wow.
Like, most people, when they learn about their design, they're like, oh my gosh, I've never had anyone explain me so well to myself. Or now I realize why I was feeling so tired all the time, or now I know why that job didn't work out. Like, it's just a really beautiful tool. So I'm so excited to share it with everyone.
Yeah, that's wild. So I definitely come from like the skeptic side, being that my bachelor's in science was psychology, and like I know it sounds like that is how you came up through education too. So did you experience any resistance at first? Like, I'm fighting skeptical beliefs. Like, I try really hard to be open-minded and open-hearted, and like even in psychology, right? It's not like we can point to it the same as like physics. And so there already is an air of like, I don't know exactly where your consciousness lies in your brain. Like, I know that we have perception and cognition and things like that, but I couldn't point to it and be like, this is where you house your thoughts, right? And that kind of willingness to not have perfect knowing of like, I can witness this, therefore it's true, but rather I know it and therefore it's true. So I'm just curious if you ever experienced that resistance, or like how you think about it, given that you have so much experience with it.
Yeah. So I'm not a huge skeptic like that.
Okay.
And I go based off of how I feel. And so when I discovered human design, I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, I'm in, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So that was nothing for me, but I have had lots of clients who question it and who are that very scientific brain and want the proof or evidence about it. And what's cool about human design is that it's the way that your chart is created, and the way that we get to like see what your design is based off of the energies that are happening the moment that you're born, right? And so everything is energy. Everything's made up of energy, and there are particles floating around us all the times called neutrinos. Like, you can Google this. This is a scientific thing.
Okay.
And neutrinos are bouncing off everything at every minute. And so there's neutrinos bouncing off of the sun and the moon and Mars and Mercury and all the planets. And it's like sideswiping a car, right? When the neutrinos hit the sun, they pick up a little bit of that energy. And so at the moment that you are born, these neutrinos then hit you with the energy that they've picked up from all of the other planets. And so you're basically imprinted with that energy at that moment. And that's what creates your human design. So that's a piece that if somebody's looking for the actual scientific evidence, that you can go research more about. Cool. And there's actually people getting into now how there are pieces of your design that are actually based off of your DNA. And there's a whole school of thought around that. But as I said, that's not where my particular interest or curiosities lie. So I don't dive too far into that.
Sure, that makes sense. There's a total spectrum, right, between like scholar and practitioner, and like everybody's on that spectrum differently. And like, I'm such a research nerd that now I'm like, where is that happening? How do I get a PhD there? That's so cool. Because I think that's so fascinating. Wow.
Yes.
So I can also speak to like, once I learned that I'm a generator, which also I have to ask, like, what type are you?
I'm a projector.
You're a projector. Okay. I know I have clients that are projectors for sure that will listen. So hopefully we can share some stories and things like that too. But as a generator, I've learned like the need to respond to things was so enlightening, because it's like, yeah, that makes so much sense. Like, I hate, like, I feel so frustrated if I don't know what I want. And then when people present me with things, it's so much easier for me to be like, oh, absolutely not that, but it's
Yes.
definitely this. And then it's just like instant clarity. And so
Uh,
my husband does all of our cooking, and sometimes he'll ask me like, hey, what do you want for lunch? And I just sit there and stare at him with a blank stare. And I'm like, what is food? I have no idea. I've never eaten a lunch
yeah.
before. Like, what are you talking about? And then if he's like, oh, do you want a sandwich or a burger? I'm like, oh, burger for sure. Like, thanks.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like could not make that make sense. Like, I couldn't explain that that is the truth for me before, and that that is just what works better for me. But having the language to understand that like I need something to respond to, even though I wouldn't go to him and be like, hey, I'm a generator, therefore that means I need it,
Right.
because he is
Right.
even more skeptical than I am. But I can be like, hey, I know this thing about me, and now that I know this thing, I can advocate for myself better in communication and relationships. So I can ask for certain communication types of like, can you give me options, for example, so that then I can respond to it. And so the real application side of it for me was like, done. I don't really need to know the science at first to like believe it enough to get
Yeah.
started. But I'm also like such a curious being that I'm totally going to go down that rabbit hole after this.
Yeah, that example you just shared about, can you give me options? That's the practical application of human design, right? Like making it work for you. And it's a beautiful example of the strategy that generators and manifesting generators have. So each type has a strategy, like which is how you're meant to move throughout the world. And for gens and Manny gens, it's responding. And it's like you thrive best when you have yes or no questions. So, like you said, asking a generator, what do you want for dinner, doesn't give them anything to respond to. They need you to say, like, do you want pizza for dinner or do you want a salad for dinner? And then
Mm-hmm.
they can choose based off of that. So, yes,
Yeah.
I love it.
That makes so
I
much
love it.
sense. So, can you talk us through the different types and like, so you just identified, right? So, generators and manifesting generators need
Mm-hmm.
something to respond to. And then, so two questions. First, as a projector, what does that mean you need? What's your strategy? Or is that something separate? And then, what are all the types? Just like, let's do a little dive into what your options are.
Yes. Okay. So let's go through the types. And when we get to
Okay,
projector, I'll answer your question about that.
sweet. Thanks.
So there's 5 types in human design, and everyone falls into one of the 5. And your type doesn't change. It's like that's what you're born with, and that's what you stay your entire life.
Okay.
So first we have our manifestors, and they're about 8% of the population. And they're really here to be the pioneers or the visionaries and to shake things up, to take us in a new direction, to show us things we've never seen before. And to be a little bit like provoking, to push the edges, to challenge things. And I think of them as like the startups of the world, right? They're like, I have this crazy idea, let's do it like this. But
Mm-hmm.
because of that, manifestors can they can push people's buttons, or like some people won't like them or they won't understand them and be like, we're not going to change this because this is the way we've always done it. Right. So a manifestor can meet a lot of resistance in that way and really fall into the, I don't want to call it a habit, but the like coping mechanism of trying to like make everybody happy or stay within the lines. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to make anyone mad at me. So I'm not going to share this wild idea I have how we could take things in a whole new direction.
Okay.
And the strategy for a manifestor is to inform. So that means like once they have this wild idea and they've decided what they're going to do, before they take action on it, they need to let the rest of us know. They need to inform us. But this process of informing is not asking for permission or validation.
Hmm.
They're just coming and saying, hey, I just want to let you know this is what I've decided. I'm going to quit my job next week or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, but doing it from a place of like complete personal power and complete self-trust, complete self-confidence. Like, it's okay if you don't understand what I've decided. It's okay if you don't agree with me, but I'm going to do this anyway. And when a manifestor acts in that way, they're naturally going to attract the people who are meant to be a part of their world.
Hmm.
But it is a very polarizing energy. So that's where a lot of the work happens for a manifestor.
Okay.
Next, we have our generators, and sometimes people will group generators and manifesting generators together.
Mhm.
And when they're grouped together, these two groups make up 2/3 of the population. So most people will be a generator or mani-gen.
Okay.
And if we go back to our manifestors, who are the startups or the pioneers, they are getting an idea off the ground. But generators and mani-gens will come in to help support the manifestor and do the work to get this project going, to move it forward. So a lot of times you'll hear that generators and mani-gens are here to be the workers, the builders, the doers. And that's true, but you're meant to find work that you love. You're not meant to be just like stuck at some old desk job because you're here to work. It's like, what's your passion? What's the thing that lights you up? What's the thing that you can't stop thinking about, that when you're doing it, you get lost or it gives you more energy? That's where we want you.
Mhm.
And I think that's why like so many people are unhappy, is because they're generators or mani-gens who just accepted a job or got stuck in a role where they're not really fulfilled.
Mhm.
And it's shrinking their energy, which we can get into later on. But the strategy that we talked about is responding. And this really goes to your gut feeling of like, in your body, in your gut or your sacral center, if you're familiar with the chakra system. It's like, is it a gut? Yes. Sometimes you'll even hear it as like an uh-huh or an uh-uh. And
Mhm.
trusting that gut response over your mind, over your sense of logic and reasoning. Like, my gut is telling me no, but my mind is telling me yes. Which one are you going to trust?
Mhm.
And that's really where gens and mani-gens have to develop that muscle and that trust in themselves. Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. And that's like the anxiety in me is like when I listen to, well, what about this and what about that versus like none of that matters. How do I feel? So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It's tough because most of us have been so ingrained our entire lives of like, be responsible or be the good girl, or if you want to be
Mhm.
successful, this is what you have to do. Like, think smart about it. And
Yeah.
it's learning to trust that gut feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Which can also be
All
really
right.
hard depending on the relationships you were raised in and like if enmeshment was present in your family system growing up, because personally, that was not trusted. Like my gut was not, I was taught to not trust it because of my
Yeah.
family dynamic. So it's just like been an uphill battle. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that totally makes sense. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's huge.
Okay. Who's next?
Next, we have our projectors.
Okay.
So, projectors are about 20% of the population.
Hmm.
And if we go back to that model I was talking about, where the manifestors are the visionaries, the startups, the gens and mani-gens come in to support that vision by doing work that they love. And then our projectors are the project managers or the overseers, watching the generators and manifesting generators do their work and guiding them of how to do their work more efficiently.
Hmm.
So projectors are not here to do work themselves. They're here to tell the gens and mani-gens what to do and how to do it better.
Interesting.
But because of this, the projector strategy is to wait for the invitation.
Mm.
If they don't wait for the invitation, they come across as very bossy or know-it-all or trying to offer unsolicited advice. And we all know how that goes. It doesn't land well. It's
Yeah.
not well received by the other person.
Right.
So, projectors, we talk a lot about how you have to find a way to share your gift, your knowledge, your expertise with the world, but not directed at one person, right? So I'm a projector and I do this on Instagram, right? I share all about human design. I'm like, this is what it can do for you. This is how it can change your life. But I wait for people to come to me and ask for my help. I'm not cold messaging people or jumping into their DMs, right?
Mhm.
It's, you have to wait for them to recognize that you are the expert, that you know what you're talking about, that you can help them, and wait for them to ask for you to become the guide and step into that role.
Okay.
Yes. And then our final group we have is the reflectors. And reflectors are about 1% of the population. So they're
Wow.
pretty rare, but I do know a few reflectors. So I always
Mm.
like to include them.
Yeah.
And they are here to mirror back the energy around them, or to be like a thermometer almost.
Mm.
So if you meet a reflector who is really fulfilled and lighthearted and like full of gratitude, then you know that their environment, their friendships, their career, their relationships, like you know that their surroundings are in alignment and that everything is healthy and working well. But if you meet a reflector who has no energy and is sick all the time and is really pessimistic, then they're just reflecting back what's happening around them.
Mm.
So when we see a reflector's human design chart and comparing it to like what yours looks like, a
Mm.
reflector's chart is all white. So
Mm.
they have no color in it, or we call it definition.
Mm.
And they're literally picking up the energy around them all the time.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
and the reflector strategy is to wait a lunar cycle or 28 days, which, as you can imagine, in our very fast paced moving society,
Yeah.
that's probably very
Mhm.
challenging for them.
Mhm.
But it's important because the way that they feel, what they're experiencing is just based on the current moment or the current environment, and that's going to change over the next day and the next week and the next 2 weeks. So giving themselves this long period of time allows them to feel into something in many different ways, in many different areas, and many different experiences, so that they can like distill it down to what's actually the truth for them.
Hmm. Interesting. And so when you say like
Yeah.
their response or their strategy rather, is that like their strategy for everything? Or would you say it's your strategy for decision making or like relationships? What exact how far reaching is your strategy, I guess?
So I think of your strategy as like your rule for interacting with other people, or your rule for moving throughout the world. But
Mm.
there's another piece of your human design called your authority, and that is specifically how you make decisions. So
Oh.
sometimes they're connected or they're linked. So for the reflectors, their authority is also to wait 28 days. Like it's the same as their strategy basically.
Mm.
And for our generators and manifesting generators, some of them will have an emotional authority, but a lot of them have sacral authority. And if you have sacral authority, that means your decisions are just that gut feeling that we talked about when you're
Mhm.
responding, which is your
Mm.
strategy. So it can be very linked together.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Like, I've never heard it all laid out like that and, like, compared to each other. That's really clear. And
Yeah.
so in general, do you feel like people come to you when they're like, I'm really struggling with my career, therefore I need to learn more about my human design? Or in what area primarily are you helping people apply their human design to?
Yeah, it's changed over the years. So I first discovered human design in December of 2018. So
Okay.
then it was the beginning of 2019 that I began doing chart readings for people. And it happened very organically. I just posted on Facebook that, like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with human design. Does anyone want a chart reading? And I had 50 people respond to that post. And so I was
Whoa.
like, okay. So I did a couple for free, and then I started charging like $25, and eventually the price went up. But at that point, I was doing readings for anyone and everyone.
Mm.
And it was more of just like people were like, I just want to know more about myself, or like just tell me what you see, just genuine curiosity.
Mhm.
But over time, when I actually started my business, I focused it mostly on small business owners and entrepreneurs, and how to use your human design to run your business
Mhm.
based off your energy, because that had been my experience in my previous life coaching business. I was just following all of the experts and doing what they told me to do, which, as I later learned, none of them were projectors. And so
Oh,
I
no.
was working in a way that wasn't working for me, and that's why I got
Yep.
so burnt out.
Yep.
And so now that's what I love to do, is being like, okay, like you have a vision, you have a business, you have a goal you want to make happen. Like, let's do it, but let's make sure you're doing it based on your design so that, one, it feels good for you, two, it's sustainable, three, you're having fun, right? Like, that's where you're really going to be able to make things happen for yourself. But
Mhm.
so that's how I primarily use it, but you can use it for anything. You can use it for relationships, for parenting, for teams. Like if you're in a corporate setting, there's lots of ways you can apply human design.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. And that makes sense then too, thinking back to your opening statements that like you work with trailblazers. I think was
Mhm.
the term you use, like thinking about people that are, blazing a new trail and figuring out how to bring something to life. Then how do you use
Yes.
your human design in that
Mhm.
creation? That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm curious in terms of that specific area that you help folks with of like running your business, do you have any general tips that are like, if you are this, then do that, that you give out like pretty consistently of like, do you narrow it down on the type of content you would create or the type of offerings you could develop in your business or like some other specific area, or is it whatever the person brings to you and more in regard to them and their goal?
It depends. Like if I'm working with a private client, it's like, where are you at in your business? What do you need right now? And then whether that's creating your first offer or scaling your business to the next level, we can really tailor your human design to any of that. But in my programs, I have a program just for generators and manifesting generators that's called Turned On,
Mm,
where we go deep into like, what does it mean to be a Gen or Manny Gen? And a lot of that is the sacral center, which is the center of passion and desire and like lit up energy being turned on. And how do we infuse that energy into your business?
mm,
Right. And then in terms of creating offers and even in like your price point, like, are you turned on by your prices? Are you turned on by what you're sharing on social media every day? Are you turned on by the conversations with your clients? Like, if not, then something about your business is not in alignment, and we need to figure out what that is and clean it up so that you can be that bold, fiery energy that you're meant to be.
mm.
um, but I do have some tips that I can share for each of the types in terms of creating their offer, if you'd like to go through
Heck yeah, let's go there. That's great.
that. Okay, that'll be fun. So for our manifestors, we talked about this a little bit, but your energy is meant to challenge or initiate. That's really what you're here to do, or provoke, if you want to think of it like that.
Mm,
So if you think about that, like what is going to challenge your audience? What's going to provoke them? What's going to be like a jump start for them?
mm,
So for a program, you could even create a jump start program, right?
mm,
How to jumpstart your love life if you're a relationship coach, how to jumpstart your weight loss journey if you're a health coach,
mm,
right? You
mhm.
could do things like 5-day challenges or boot camps or intensives. Like it's think of like jumping a car. Manifestor energy is like a big jolt, like a
Mm,
lightning strike,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
And that works really well for people who are manifestors because their energy is not consistent. It comes in really big waves. So
Mm,
when a manifestor has a lot of energy, they have a lot of energy,
mm,
but it's going to run out and they're going to have a period where they don't have any energy. So, for example, running like a year-long mastermind program might not be the most aligned for them. Not to
yeah,
say you can't do it, right? You can do anything,
right.
but if you're doing that, you'd want to find ways to make sure your clients are still supported when you're in that energetic lull. Maybe you build up a team. Maybe you have 1 month that's all like pre-recorded content, like allowing yourself to be creative with that, but
Mhm.
just recognizing that in the purest sense, your energy is here to challenge people and really like jumpstart them into a new direction.
Okay, that
So
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
that like high intensity collaboration.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. It's like a rocket launch. That's kind of how the manifestor
Mhm.
energy is.
Okay.
Now, our generators and manifesting generators, we talked about how your energy is meant to respond.
Mhm.
So if you know that, it would work really well for you to sell any sort of like Voxer coaching packages where your clients can ask you questions or just kind of like drop in whatever is happening in the moment for them so that you can respond to it, right? It literally
Mhm.
gives you something consistently to respond to.
Mhm.
Another thing you could do is a masterclass that's like, ask me anything. Like, I'm
Mhm.
going to come to this masterclass, but you're going to be bringing in the questions so that I can just respond to them. And from there, you're able to fill the space with your knowledge and just this. It's like a connection to source, like just allowing the energy to come through you instead of you having to think about and plan and create this whole masterclass. Like, let it happen very organically.
Mhm.
You could also do programs where you can answer questions and respond to your clients in real time. So having it be a very interactive experience is going to work best for you.
That makes sense. That totally tracks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does that resonate for you as a
Oh yeah,
generator?
yeah. I use Marco Polo with my one-on-one clients, and like there is nothing
Yeah.
more exciting to me than like getting a whole bunch of notifications to get to sit and respond to them. But if I like open my Instagram or something and or like get on my Facebook or go to a group coaching call and no one submitted questions, it's just like this pit in my stomach, like, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know what
Hmm.
to talk about. But I have found some like strategies with Chat GPT or Ask the Public, and even just documenting past questions that sometimes will help me if I don't have a in the moment thing that someone is asking me to respond to when I'm ready to like put out content or something like that. I kind of just have a bank of questions pooled and
That's so
then
smart. Yeah.
can respond to them as I go. Or like, gosh, I am known for like whenever I'm feeling like low energy, I'll just go into a Facebook group or a subreddit and look for questions and
Hmm.
answer them. And like it's just so much more exciting and energetic for me than trying to sit alone and come up with something.
Yes. See, you're naturally aligning with your design because that's coaching that I give to my generator and manage gen clients. Like, go on social media, just like start scrolling and something will catch your attention that you're
Mhm.
responding to in that moment. And from there you can take action.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
So so good.
Yes.
Okay, so our projectors are our next type,
Mhm.
and the projector energy needs to be recognized, right? They need that invitation. So you need someone to recognize that you have something to offer, that you are the person that they want to hire. So one-on-one coaching packages work really well for projectors where they can guide the other person's energy and where they can be chosen, right? If you're hiring a one-on-one coach, that's you recognizing them, that's you choosing them. That's a
Mhm.
projector's dream.
Mhm.
And projector energy works really well one-on-one. The projectors have a very like focused, penetrating aura where they can see straight into the heart of the other person, to
Mhm.
see what the other person can't see, to like notice their blind spots. That's part of the gift as the projector. So private coaching works really well.
Mhm.
The other thing that works well for projectors is offering programs where you can showcase your expertise, where you're almost putting yourself on that stage and allowing yourself to share everything that you know.
Mhm.
When people join your programs, that's them offering you the invitation. And that's them saying, I want to know what you know. I want your eyes on my business. I want to hear your thoughts on this. That's them choosing you.
Mhm.
So when you create an offer, making sure that it's like you're putting yourself in the spotlight, that you're allowing yourself to share what you know with those people.
Mhm.
I think that's why I love doing group programs where I get to teach and share my knowledge with people. It like nothing excites me more than that.
That's awesome.
And our last group is the reflectors. So the reflector energy is meant to allow other people to see themselves in you, right? When we're
Mhm.
talking about offers in your business. So really, like, you're here to be the mirror, right? That's the ultimate purpose of a reflector. And the reflector energy, as we talked about, is not consistent. It's always changing, shape shifting, depending on what's happening in their world. So, whenever I work with reflectors, I tell them your business gets to change and evolve, meaning your offers are not going to be the same. What your business looks like now in Q2 is probably not what it's going to look like in Q4.
Mm.
So, what you want to sell is whatever feels healthy, fun, supportive, and like good for you in this moment. And
Mm.
that can be anything because it's just going to be a reflection of the energy that you're feeling in the moment.
Okay.
Right. So if you want to sell a group program as a reflector, you totally can. If you want to sell private coaching, you can. If you want to sell a 5-day intensive, you can. It doesn't matter. It's not you. It's what you're feeling from your audience, really.
Mhm. That makes
Yeah.
sense. That is,
Yes.
yeah. And was that the last one, or is there one more? That was reflectors, right?
That's it. That's it.
Okay, yeah. So that's making me wonder, is there strategy that you know of? Like, is it articulated yet? Like, how to call in the people that are best positioned to give you what you need to act out your strategy. So I'm thinking, as a generator, if I know that like Voxer coaching is great for me, I'm guessing there's probably a way for me to think about like who most needs Voxer type coaching. You know, people that are
Mm,
really busy, people that have maybe kids, so they're working on their business late at night, so they can't make a consistent schedule or something like that.
yeah.
But then who are those people? What type might those people be? So if I know that I do really well responding to questions, would we assume that I am also the type of person that asks a lot of questions? Because this podcast would make me think yes. And just like my curiosity of who I am, like would track. But do you know if that is known, that like whatever your strategy is also, I'm not even exactly sure how to frame this outside of the generator example, but like, being that my strategy is to respond, does that also mean that I am best suited to engage with other generators because that's my
Yeah.
natural tendency?
There's a little bit of information out there about that. It's not like cut and dry,
Mm-hmm.
but there is information out there, like generators and other generators work really well together. Generators and projectors work really well together. But manifestors, because their energy is so polarizing, like a projector will have a hard time coaching a manifestor because the manifestor is going to want to do whatever they want to do. They're not going to want to hear what the projector has to say, right? This is just a very generalized example. But if
Mm-hmm.
we think about the different types and how their energy is meant to work, like a manifestor is almost like they're like the kid who knows what they want to do and they're not going to listen to your rules. Right? They're like, I've
Yeah,
already decided
totally.
what I want.
Yeah.
But the other types, like if a generator or manifesting generator wants support and guidance, they will work really well with a projector because the projector wants to give them that guidance. The projector
Mm-hmm.
wants to help them and guide them because that's what they're here to do. And it works in reverse too, because projectors have a hard time seeing themselves clearly. Their energy is focused on the other person because projectors are here to be the guides for others. So
Mm-hmm.
projectors can't see themselves. It's hard for them to reverse that and turn the energy toward themselves. So a projector will be like, I don't know what my gifts are. I don't know what I'm here to do. I don't know what I'm good at. And so a generator or manifesting generator can be like, well, I can tell you what you're good at. You're good at this, you're good at this, you're good at this, because I can't do those things and you're amazing at it.
Mm-hmm.
So those types work really well together.
That makes sense.
There's other pieces of your human design we could look at too. Like if we're looking at your body graph, which is the body shaped design on your human
Yeah.
design chart, you'll see there's, unless you're a reflector on your chart, there's going to be some places that are white and some places that are colored in.
Mm-hmm.
And we naturally attract it's like a magnet. We attract people who have the opposite. So if you look at like the top of your chart where the head would be, if yours is colored in or defined, you will naturally attract people to you who have that center undefined, because then they're able to soak up that energy.
Interesting.
So that can be another way that you can play with it. That's why human design is so fun, because once you learn more and you're like, okay, for example, as a projector, I have an undefined sacral center. So I don't have a lot of sacral energy. I need to rest a lot. I need to nap a lot. But if I want to feel very energized and productive, then I know that I want to be working with a lot of generator and manifesting generator clients. So I can call them out in my sales and marketing. And I can use a lot of yes and no questions. And I can talk about how they want to feel turned on in their business. And then they'll be drawn to me and they'll want to work with me, right? Like you can specifically speak to those results or feelings that they want. And then it becomes really fun.
Yeah. That's fascinating, because thinking just about the clients that I work with too, I think something I hear a lot is like, you're really good at seeing me and then helping me translate that into what that means. So I recently was working with a client who was like, I know I don't want to do this, but I also kind of think I want to do all these other things. And it was, we were running through all of the things, and it was so clear to me, like, you want to do this one. Like I hear you acting like you want to do these other things, but like, no, you totally changed as soon as you started talking about that one. But she could not see that in herself. And then talking through, well, and here's what that could look like, was so different once she had that clarity of like, oh, I could choose that. That's cool. But it was hearing her gave me space to respond to it. But I'm not exactly sure what her type is. And now I'm curious. I'm going to go ask her.
Yes, go ask her. Get her chart.
Yeah. So interesting. So it sounds like earlier you mentioned, if you were brand new to human design, first thing, go get your chart. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then what? What would you say? Like, what's step 2? You've got your chart. You know a little bit about it. Where would you point someone to learn more?
Yeah. So once you have your chart, the foundational pieces that you really want to start learning more about and understanding are your type, your strategy, and your authority. Okay. And we talked about some of that today, but those pieces can take people a year or more to really begin living, to begin embodying it, right? Like, so as a projector, it took me so long to learn to wait for the invitation and to stop offering unsolicited advice and to break those patterns, right? Like, because we've been doing this our entire lives. So that's where you want to start, is with your type, strategy, and authority. I share a lot about that over on my Instagram page. If you're more of a video person, you can go to YouTube and search for it. There's a lot of information out there. But that's where I would start. Another fun place, if you're ready to move on for more information, is to look at your profile. So your profile in your chart is the role that you're here to play. And it's going to be made up of 2 numbers, and each number has an archetypal energy to it. And so when you begin to understand those energies and what it means, you can start playing that role. So you mentioned before you're a 3/5, I'm a 6/2.
Okay.
And it's really cool because sometimes we feel like we resonate more with people who have the same profile, even more so than people who have the same type. So if I meet a generator who's a 6/2, I'm like, oh, I get you. I understand you. We're on the same page, right? Same wavelength. And you just have this understanding. So the profiles are a really fun place to dive into if you want to learn more. And then after that, I'd recommend looking at the 9 centers, which is based off of the chakra system. So each center in your chart is a hub of energy, and each center has a different type of energy. So you can look at whether that center is defined, or meaning it's colored in, and that's where you would have consistent energy that you can tap into. And the centers that are white or undefined are where you do not have consistent energy, and you likely have a lot of conditioning there that we need to clear out. And get you back into alignment. So that's one of the next places that I'll take my clients to dive into, of like, how do I deepen my alignment with my design? That would be it.
That's so cool. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I now have my plans for the afternoon.
Yes.
That's
It's so
amazing.
fascinating. It's so fun. Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Cool.
once you kind of know how to read a chart, you're like, I want to read everyone's in my life. Like, I'm going to look at my partner and my kids and my best friends and all of my clients.
Totally.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've asked you all my questions. Is there anything else you'd like to share today?
I think I just want to remind everyone that when you're looking at your chart, there's nothing that's good or bad or right or wrong. Like, one chart, one type is not better than another. Having more defined centers or all undefined centers, it's not better or worse. Like, your chart is perfect the way that it is. It was designed that way for a reason. You have everything you need within you in your chart to help you achieve and create whatever you want in your life. Like, human design is meant to be a tool of self-love, of coming home to yourself, of remembering who you are instead of trying to be who the world wants you to be. And that's the most important piece.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a clear method for hitting on that goal of aligning who you are with how you move through the world and what you do. So I love that. Thank you so much for your time and energy and all of your wisdom. I am sure that you're going to get a whole bunch of new followers being like, tell me more. How do I get a reading with you? So I will be sure to tag you in future posts. So if you're listening to this episode, anyone, and you're like, how do I get in touch with Ashley? Just head over to my Instagram and you can tap on over to hers. But otherwise, I just want to say thanks again. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sustain Your Passion podcast. If this episode helped you gain a bit more clarity, courage, or confidence, please share it with your friends on social media or in a text. It would mean the world to me. Thanks in advance for sharing this episode. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.